Welcome back. In this step, let's focus on implementing update to do. The first thing that you need to do is to add update button in here. And once we add the update button, there will be two more things to do. On the click of update button, go and show the update to do page. And when user clicks submit on the update to do page, make the changes back to the list of to dos. Let's get started with the first change, which is to add the update button to the view. You can pause the video in here and try it as an exercise as well. It should be pretty simple, right? So all that I need to do is to add another th in here, empty one, and I would go and copy the delete to do one and make the changes. So instead of delete to do, it should be update to do. And instead of button warning, I'll actually use button success for update, and I'll actually use update. I think delete in caps might be shouting to the users. So let's put it in small. So delete update. That's it. So this looks pretty smooth for now. Let's go in and refresh. Okay. You have the delete and the update buttons in here. Let's now make use of the update. If you click update, what do you expect? Yep, error, right? Let's go ahead and implement the display part of update. So let's go back to the to-do controller. What I would want to do in here is, instead of delete to do, I would want to have a update to do. And we are showing the update to do page in here. We are not really updating the to do. We are just showing the update to do page. I'm a great fan of giving clear names to your methods. Even though this method name is not really important, because the URL you map in here is much more important than this one, but always focus on the names you give to your classes, to your methods, to your local variables. Everything should be properly named. Once everything is properly named, you'd see that maintaining this code over a period of time becomes really, really easy. So what we are doing in here is showing the update to do page. A little later, we'll handle how to really update the to do when somebody clicks a submit on the update to do page. But for now, we are focusing on showing the update to do page. So let's go ahead and do that. Save this. Before that, this should be update to do. And over here, this is not the logic. So at the end of update to do, where do we want to send the user when he wants to update a to do? We want to send him to the to do page. So what I'm doing is sending him to the to do page. What do you expect will happen now? If I actually go in and if you go back to the list to dos and say update, you'll get an error. It says no binding object available. We are redirecting to the to do form, and in the to do form, what are we expecting? We are expecting modal attribute is equal to do. So we are expecting something called to do in the modal. How do we get the to do details in the modal? We have an example already. Showed the new to do page earlier. Let's use something similar in here. We need to first get the to do details for that specific ID and show them in here. So let's add a modal map. We would want to be able to add to modal. What do we want to add to the modal? We would want to add to do. So to do is equal to do service dot find by ID. So find by ID. This method does not exist yet. So we need to create this method. So I'll do a control one and I'll say create method find by ID in to do service. So the find by ID method is now created int ID. So what we want to do is to retrieve that specific thing back. We already have a predicate defined to match by ID in delete by ID method. So let's use the same predicate. What we want to do is to find the to do in this list of to dos which matches that specific ID. So we are passing the ID in here, 1, or you will pass 2 or 3. Based on the to do, you'll pass the ID. For that ID, from the list of these to dos, we would want to match the ID and get that specific to do. And that's what we are doing in here. So the predicate helps us to match against the ID. From the list of to dos, what we want to do is to identify the right one. I can use the traditional for loop around the to dos and find the right one and give it back. Or I can use functional programming, right? So the way you can use functional programming is to dos.stream. So I'm creating a stream of to dos. One by one, I would want to check all the to dos And inside that, I would want to filter. I want to filter using the earlier predicate. From the filtered list, from the matching list, I'll just take the first one. So that's find first. And once the element is found, you need to do a get on it to get it. So let's add a semicolon in here and save this. I'll do a Control-1 or Command-1 and assign the statement to a new local variable. And this is the to-do we would want to return back. So we find a to-do and we return the to-do back. So as you can see in here, this code might look a little complex if you have no experience with functional programming. But what we are doing in here is very, very simple. We are defining a condition, and from the stream of to-dos, we are filtering based on that condition. At the end, you should just find one element. We are getting that element and returning it back. So let's see what would happen now. Now we need to go to the to-do controller and make use of that. So find by ID. The code compiles when I save it. That's good. The last thing I would need to do is to add this to modal. Modal.add attribute. I would want to add an attribute called to do. This should be matching the name that we give in the todo.jsp. Modal attribute is to do, and that's exactly what we are putting in here, and semicolon. Let's see if the to do details are automatically displayed. So let's go back and say, oops, not this page. We need to go back to the list to dos page. List to dos, update. Cool. You can see the details of the first to do. Let's go back and let's do an update in here. Yep, learn DevOps. Let's go back. Let's do an update in here. Learn full stack development. This looks pretty cool, right? So we are now able to go to the update page. In this step, we did the first few steps in implementing the update feature. We were able to add an update button to the view. On the click of update button, we are now able to show the to-do details on the to-do page. Now, what do you want to do? You want to take these details and we would want to update the to-do as well. If I actually make a change, learn AWS now, for example, I want to be able to save it back. If I do a submit, you'd see that it goes back to the same page. So this feature is not working. Let's see how to do that in the next step.